Asterisk, asterisk, please. I can't swim. Asterisk, asterisk, Serena screamed, her voice cracking with fear. But her desperate cry vanished beneath the deafening thunder of the helicopter's rotors. The wind whipped her hair across her face, and rain lashed against her skin like needles. Below her, the ocean stretched endlessly, a black, raging abyss. The waves rose and fell like wild beasts, their white crests glowing faintly under the helicopter's floodlights. It was as if the sea itself was alive, waiting to devour her. Two armed officers held her by the arms, their grips like iron. The cuffs around her wrists bit deep into her skin, leaving dark bruises. She twisted and struggled, but every movement only made the pain worse. "Stop moving," one of the cops barked. "You're making it harder for everyone." "Harder for who?" She shot back, her voice trembling. "I didn't do anything." Her name was Serena Miles, a 29-year-old marine biologist from Florida. A brilliant researcher who'd spent her life studying the ocean, its creatures, its mysteries, and its fragile balance. But now, the same sea she had loved might become her grave. Only 12 hours earlier, she'd been at her lab, preparing a presentation that could change everything. Evidence showing illegal dumping of toxic waste into the Gulf of Mexico. The data pointed directly at several government contractors. Before she could make her findings public, she was arrested under false charges of data theft. Now, she was handcuffed in a helicopter flying over open water in the middle of the night, with no idea where they were taking her. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the terrified look in her eyes. The storm howled louder, shaking the chopper. "She's panicking," said one officer over the radio. "What do we do if she keeps fighting?" The pilot's voice came through, cold and mechanical. "Handle it. We can't have a liability midair." The cop to her right leaned closer. His jaw was tight, his eyes unreadable. "You shouldn't have messed with things you don't understand," he muttered. "What are you talking about?" Serena shouted over the wind. "I was trying to save the ocean." But her words only fueled his anger. "She's trying to break free," the other officer yelled as Serena kicked, "Try to pull away." Then came the words that froze her blood. Asterisk, asterisk, then let her go. The ocean will handle her. Asterisk, asterisk. Time seemed to stop. Before she could even scream, their hands released her. For one endless heartbeat, Serena hung in the air, the helicopter lights shining on her pale, terrified face. And then she fell. The wind tore at her as she plunged into the darkness. Splash! The water hit her like concrete. Pain exploded through her body. She sank fast, the cold slicing through her like knives. Her lungs screamed for air as she kicked upward, her cuffed hands useless. When she finally broke the surface, gasping and choking, the helicopter was already turning away. Its lights vanished into the storm clouds, leaving her alone in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by nothing but waves, darkness, and the unseen predators lurking below. Serena hit the water like a rock dropped from the sky. The impact stole the air from her lungs. For a split second, her world went black. Then came the pain, a sharp, burning sting through her arms and chest as she fought to reach the surface. She broke through, gasping, coughing up seawater. The waves tossed her like a rag doll. The salt stung her eyes, and her wrists screamed in agony as the steel cuffs cut deeper into her skin. She kicked desperately, trying to stay afloat, but the weight of her soaked clothes dragged her down. The cold was merciless. It clawed at her bones. She spun around, searching for any sign of light, any direction, but the helicopter was gone. Just endless, dark water. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Asterisk, thump, thump. Thump, thump. Asterisk, every beat reminded her she was still alive, for now. Then she felt it. A shift beneath her, smooth, powerful, and deliberate. At first, she thought it was her imagination. But then, the surface broke, and a fin, tall and sleek, sliced through the moonlit waves. Serena froze. Her breath hitched. Another fin appeared, and another. They circled her like shadows. Sharks. Her instinct screamed panic, but her training whispered control. Years of studying the ocean had taught her how these creatures thought and how humans often misunderstood them. Sharks are curious, not cruel, she reminded herself through chattering teeth. Panic makes you prey. She forced her body to still, letting the waves move her instead of fighting them. Her breathing slowed, deep, measured, controlled. The sharks moved closer. One brushed against her leg, not biting, just testing. Her skin prickled with fear. She wanted to scream, to thrash, but she didn't. Then she felt another danger: blood. Her wrists were bleeding. The salt made it worse, and she knew every drop was like a signal in the water. She tried to raise her arms, but the cuffs clanked together, heavy and cold. "Think, Serena. Think," she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. Her eyes scanned the water, desperate for anything she could use. And then, through the darkness, she saw it. Something floating a few meters away. A broken plank. Maybe part of an old fishing boat or debris from a storm. It wasn't much, but it was hope. She took a breath, braced herself, and started swimming toward it. Every kick was agony. Every wave shoved her backward. And behind her, she heard it, the low, rhythmic movement of the fins. They were following. She didn't dare look back. She focused on the wooden plank ahead, whispering, "Come on, come on." A sudden swell lifted her high, then dropped her hard. Her chin hit the water, and she swallowed another mouthful of salt. She coughed, spat, and kept going. Finally, her fingers touched wood. She gripped it tightly, clinging as if it were life itself. Her body trembled from exhaustion, but she managed to pull herself halfway onto it, letting her chest rest on the floating debris. For the first time since she'd been thrown from the helicopter, she stopped moving. The sea around her quieted. The fins drifted farther away. Tears mixed with seawater as she whispered, "You're not going to die here. Not like this." Above her, lightning split the sky, and for a brief moment, the ocean glowed silver. She wasn't safe. Not yet. But she had survived the first hour, and that was more than anyone expected. By the time Serena reached the floating plank, her arms were numb and her lips blue. She clung to the splintered wood like it was her last thread to life. Her muscles burned, her wrists ached, and the metal cuffs bit deeper with every movement. The plank rocked with the waves, creaking under her weight. Each gust of wind sprayed cold salt water into her face. Her teeth chattered uncontrollably, but she didn't care. She was alive barely. She shifted slightly, feeling the coarse surface of the wood scrape against her wrists. The pain was sharp, but it gave her an idea. If she could rub the cuffs long enough, maybe, just maybe, she could weaken them. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she pressed her bound wrists against the rough edge and began to move. Back and forth, back and forth. The metal scraped, the salt burned, but she didn't stop. Every motion sent lightning bolts of pain shooting through her arms. Still, she pressed on. Minutes turned into hours. The wind howled louder, and rain began to pour, pelting her face and soaking her hair until it clung to her skin like seaweed. Thunder rumbled somewhere far off. Then, the water around her shifted again. At first, she thought it was just the storm. But then she saw it, a dark, sleek shape gliding beneath the surface. Then another. Then a third. Her blood ran cold. The sharks were back. Their fins sliced through the water in slow, deliberate circles. Serena's heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. She froze, remembering what she'd learned. Stillness could mean survival. She took a deep breath, whispering to herself, "They're curious, not hunting." Still, she could see the gleam of their bodies under the moonlight. Massive, silent, predators older than time itself. One of them brushed the plank. Just a bump, a test. She held still. Another came closer. Its dorsal fin cut through the water barely inches away. Serena whispered, "You're not taking me tonight." The words were more prayer than defiance. When the shark nudged the plank again, she reacted, not with panic but precision. Using her leg, she gently pushed it away, careful not to splash. To her relief, the shark drifted aside, uninterested. But then she saw it, a shadow larger than the rest, moving with purpose. A tiger shark, It circled once, twice, then again. Each pass felt closer than before, its massive tail creating ripples that rocked the plank. Serena knew she had to act now. Her eyes darted to a sharp splinter sticking out from the broken edge of the wood. It wasn't much, but it was something. She grabbed it, her hands trembling violently. Positioning the jagged tip against the lock of her cuffs, she began to twist and pry, every muscle screaming. The rain poured harder, washing blood down her forearms. The shark circled closer. "Come on," she gasped. "Please, just open." She pressed harder, twisting, pushing, praying. Click! The sound was so small, yet it thundered in her ears. The cuff sprang open. For the first time in hours, Serena's hands were free. A sob burst from her throat, part laugh, part relief, part disbelief. "Freedom," she whispered, her voice cracking. But then she realized her mistake. The sound had carried over the waves. The tiger shark's head tilted, sensing movement. Its fin turned toward her. Serena froze. Her breath caught halfway in her chest as the sea fell silent. Just her, the storm, and death, circling closer with every heartbeat. Hours melted into an endless nightmare. The storm faded, but the night stretched on, dark, cold, and merciless. Serena drifted beside the shattered plank, her body trembling uncontrollably. Every muscle had reached its limit. Her lips were cracked, her throat raw from swallowing seawater. Her mind began to slip in and out of consciousness. At times, she thought she heard voices, the hum of the helicopter, her mother's laughter, the sound of waves on the beach from her childhood. But it was only the wind. The sky slowly began to lighten. A faint silver hue painted the edge of the horizon. The ocean that had been roaring all night now lay eerily calm, like a beast finally resting after its hunt. Serena blinked through salt-stung eyes. The rising sun shimmered over the water, turning it gold for just a moment. A cruel, beautiful reminder that she had survived what most couldn't. Then she saw it. Far away, something blinked. A tiny, steady light against the vast blue-gray expanse. She squinted, her heart skipping. It wasn't a boat. It wasn't a reflection. It was something stationary, a buoy, glowing faintly with solar lights. Hope surged through her veins like fire. She forced herself to move. Her body screamed in protest. Every stroke felt like dragging an anchor. The plank drifted away as she kicked weakly, aiming for the light. The sharks had gone silent. No fins, no ripples, just still water. Maybe they'd left. Maybe they were watching. She didn't care anymore. "Come on, just a little more," she whispered to herself, barely able to speak. The buoy seemed impossibly far. Minutes turned to an hour, maybe more. Time no longer made sense. She swam, stopped, floated, then swam again. The salt burned her skin. Her fingers were raw and bleeding. When she finally reached it, she almost cried, but no tears came. She threw her arms around the metal post, hugging it like an old friend. The buoy rocked gently under her weight. Her blurry eyes found a small, waterproof emergency transmitter fixed to the side, a bright red button with clear words beneath it. "Press for rescue signal." With shaking fingers, Serena hit it. The device beeped, then began flashing, sending a pulse across the waves, a signal of life where none should exist. Minutes crawled by. She hung there, too weak to move, whispering prayers into the wind. Then a faint buzz. A small rescue drone appeared on the horizon, hovering low, its camera locked on her face. Within moments, it transmitted her location. Ironically, it was sent by the same police department that had thrown her into the sea. An hour later, a white rescue boat cut through the calm water. The crew leaned over the railing, staring in shock. "You survived out here all night?" one man asked, lowering a rope. "Ow!" Serena managed a faint smile, her voice barely a whisper. "Guess the ocean knew I belonged here." As they pulled her aboard, the sun broke fully over the horizon, painting the sky in gold. The sea that had almost claimed her now sparkled gently, as if in respect. Serena closed her eyes. She wasn't just rescued, she was reborn. When the story hit the internet, it was like a thunderstorm of truth breaking open the sky. Black woman survives shark-infested waters after being dumped by cops. That was the headline that echoed across the world. Within hours, the footage of Serena being lifted from the rescue boat spread like wildfire. Her soaked face, trembling hands, and the haunting look in her eyes told a story more powerful than words ever could. News anchors replayed her rescue video again and again. Social media exploded. People everywhere demanded answers. Hashtag Justice for Serena and hashtag Survivor of the Sea trended worldwide. Millions shared her photo, not as a victim, but as a symbol of survival, resilience, and truth. Politicians called it a failure of humanity. Activists called it a miracle wrapped in injustice. And ordinary people, from students to scientists to mothers, filled the internet with one question: how could this happen? The pressure was unbearable for the authorities. Within days, the department responsible for her arrest faced global outrage. The officers who had thrown her from the helicopter were suspended, and an internal investigation began. But what they found shocked even the investigators themselves. The stolen data that Serena had supposedly taken wasn't stolen at all. It was evidence, proof that high-level officials had been secretly approving illegal dumping of toxic waste into the Gulf of Mexico. The very waters Serena had nearly died and were being poisoned, and she had uncovered it. She hadn't stolen government property. She had protected the ocean and, unknowingly, the truth. When the news broke, Serena became more than a survivor. She became a symbol. Universities, human rights organizations, and environmental groups reached out. Within weeks, she was invited to speak at international conferences about marine life protection and justice reform. Despite the fame, Serena remained humble. She often said, "The real heroes are the ones who still listen to the planet when everyone else has tuned it out." A major documentary studio released a film about her story, Beneath the Surface. It showed not just her survival, but her courage to expose corruption and her deep love for the sea that nearly claimed her. The film's premiere drew tears, standing ovations, and even calls for global environmental reform. In one unforgettable interview, a journalist leaned forward and asked softly, "Serena, what kept you alive out there?" She paused, her eyes glistening, her voice calm yet strong. "Faith," she said, and remembering that even the sea has mercy when humans don't. Those words struck the world like lightning. They went viral overnight, quoted on posters, news headlines, and social media captions. Today, Serena Miles leads the Blue Mercy Foundation, an international organization that rescues marine animals, funds coastal cleanups, and provides scholarships for underprivileged students who dream of studying oceanography. The same waters that were meant to silence her now carried her message across continents. The ocean that almost took her life became the reason she changed thousands more. And when people ask what she learned from it all, she always smiles and says, "Sometimes you have to be thrown into the storm to learn you were born to calm the waves."